It's always been my ambition to come to TED and shoot the audience. So imagine this was a gun. It isn't, but it could be. Bang, bang, I shot you dead. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. So I'm here to talk about bang, bang. You said bang at first, but it's bang, bang. And bang, bang's about crime. Bang, bang is about murder and mystery. And it's good that we're in Brussels, because two of my favorite investigators are, of course, from Belgium. The great Inspector Poirot and his grey cells, and I hope to borrow some of those in terms of my investigation today. And the boy reporter Tintin, still my idol. I don't much look like him. I wish I did. Perhaps I look more like Captain Haddock. Which could be worse. I could look like Snowy. But we're here to talk about a crime, or at least a crime in the future, the undermining, perhaps the creation of a corpse out of our species, the human species. That's what I want to talk to you about today. And to begin, let's do some bang banging. So can we have the first slide, please? There they are, Tintin and Poirot, your inspiration. They're not real, but then Belgium isn't real either, so it doesn't. It's not funny, that wasn't a joke.
I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks.
Nancy Sinatra, 1968.
He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down.
Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. So stop looking at me. I'm not that interesting. Look at each other for a moment. Even though you're Belgians, you might be able to look into each other's eyes. At least we're not in France, right? What would you see? Come on, don't just laugh. Look at each other. Imagine you're from Southern Europe. Stare into each other's eyes, and what would you see? Look at each other. What kind of representation would you see? Of course, in the village age, in the medieval age, you would see, or you would have seen in terms of your perception, you would have seen status, color, class. You would have seen the whole hierarchy of feudalism. In the modern age, you would have looked at one another, and we're still kind of in the modern age, somewhere between the industrial and the knowledge economy, somewhere between the 20th and the 21st century. You would have seen mystery, you would have seen secrecy. You'd have looked at your neighbor and you would have wondered about them. You would have wondered about their history, their identity, their personality, where they were from, who they loved, who they didn't love, what kind of food they liked. If you looked at each other as strangers, all you would have seen were question marks, mystery, secrecy. That is the essence, in my view, of the human condition. That's what makes us unique as a species. That's what gives us our dignity, our glory. Now, we're on the brink of a new age, an age which, to borrow from the great American scientific writer James Gleick, we are becoming information. We are becoming data. Bang, bang. Bits, atoms, whatever the N and the G are. We are data, or we are emerging as data. That's the thing that Steve Wozniak, for better or worse, put into motion. That's the thing that's the industry that most of us are involved in. And as we look at each other in the future, in the latter part of the 21st century, we won't see question marks, we will see data. We will see information. And indeed, one company in Silicon Valley, you may have heard of it, it's called Google, they're even designing glasses, which when you put on, you won't see these physical question marks, you will see data. Bang, bang. That's the corpse, that's the murder, that's the mystery that I'm here to talk about. Now, my talk is called Digital Vertigo, and it's borrowed from Alfred Hitchcock's great movie, Vertigo. I'm going to show you a clip another detective, James Stewart, another detective trying to look into someone's eyes, trying to figure them out. You should have all seen the movie. If you haven't, please see it. Just got voted the greatest movie of all time by Sight and Sound magazine, and it's a better exploration of the human condition than almost any other movie ever made. This is the first time that Jimmy Stewart sets eyes on a woman that he's been asked to follow, to investigate. He's a detective, a private detective. He's in the business of learning about her. This takes place in Ernie's, a wonderful old steakhouse in North Beach. It doesn't exist anymore. The music begins because we know that Jimmy Stewart at the bar is going to fall in love with the woman. You can all guess who she is. She's the blonde in the green dress. Are there any blondes here? In Belgium, most of the blondes I meet are in bars. That's the beer, that is. Here she goes. Look at him. He's already transfixed. He's in love. And he hasn't even met her. He hasn't even talked to her. He's watching. Zizek, the great Slovenian philosopher, calls this the parallax view, that doorway. Here she comes. Look at her. Kim Novak, a beautiful blonde American heiress from San Francisco who drives a green Jaguar around town. He's fallen in love. He's gone for her. Now, what does Vertigo have to do with information and data? I fear, and the truth of the movie some of you may have seen, is that the blonde isn't really a blonde. In fact, she is a brunette shop girl from Kansas. All women from Kansas, I think, work in stores, and they're brunettes. And he is about to be set up. He's about to be sucked into this vortex of heartbreak and murder. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Because just as Jimmy Stewart got sold a false blonde, we are being sold something also, which is a scam, something which is undermining who we are as a species. One of the previous speakers talked about the importance of community, what I call the cult of the social. This idea that community is everything. You come to these events, this is why I want to shoot all of you. You come to these events, all you ever hear about is community, community, community. Community is supposed to be so wonderful. Community brings us together. Whoops. See, the internet works in funny ways. Can we go back to that? Do I get an extra minute? See, I'm an entrepreneur, Jewish entrepreneur from North London, always figuring out how to benefit myself. The cult of the social. All these books, too many of them, all about the we, all about how important it is for us to work together, all premised on this absurd idea that technology will finally enable community. For those of you who've read Marx's German question, it's really taken lock, stock, and barrel from Marx, the idea that technology allows us to realize our species being, that we have this network, 2 billion people on it now, all this data, DNA, we're all becoming information, and we can share that information and become community. But of course, it's nonsense, and worse than nonsense, it's dangerous nonsense. Here we have another clip. We talked about the social network before. Here we have the fictional Sean Parker, Justin Timberlake playing him.
Status updates.
Wait, that's weird. Why did the music
Check
stop?
to see which
He's
one of
been
their friends
sniffing some
changed their
cocaine off a
profiles,
young
changed their
lady's
photos,
chest.
and mostly
Seriously, what
Just
happened to
Sean
music?
can
we lived
multitask.
on farms, and then we lived in cities, and now we're going to live on the internet.
Sean.
We lived in villages, then we lived in cities, and now we're going to live on the internet. And that's the critical point. All this ideology, this dogma about community isn't just for geeks or technologists or people who have computers. 2 billion people on the network now, 7 or 8 billion probably in about 10 years, 50 billion intelligent devices by 2020. When the fictional Sean Parker said we're going to live on the internet, he was right. And just as we lived in villages and cities, and that affected, determined how we saw one another, so living on the internet will determine how we think of each other, whether we think of each other as data, how we're able to make people human in an age dominated by data and information and the network. Now, here's the real Sean Parker. He's in the business, and I quote him, of eliminating loneliness. That's the business of his new startup, Airtime, a video network. He was asked by the New York Times, Sean, what are you up to at Airtime? He said, I want to eliminate loneliness. Sean Parker, eliminating loneliness. What a hero, right? It's not just Sean, of course. Smart young man, very naive, but there are many smart, naive men in Silicon Valley all doing the same things. Transforming the network into a social network. We all know about Facebook. We all know about Twitter and LinkedIn. But now there are more and more startups all focusing on the same thing, making everything social. Social music, social movies, social books. Imagine a social book. I'm a writer. Can't imagine, or I can imagine it, and I'd want to burn it. Social food, social travel, social driving. Everything on the network is going social. Everything is about sharing. The sharing of information, the sharing of intentionality, the sharing of data. In the enterprise, we have Yammer and Chatter. We have Yammer that I think sold for $1 billion to Microsoft. So this is a real business. We have social commerce. Everything is going social. We are transforming the old world of privacy into one of publicness. A world where everything is lived externally, where that inner world of mystery and secrecy is going away. Like in everything, Hollywood got this before anyone else. So let me show you a clip from another movie about a world where this really was taking place. Whoops, there's Highlight. Forgot about Highlight. Highlight is a product that if you're on and you're sitting next to someone as a stranger, you'll know everything about them. Highlight is a social location app. So you can be sitting in a bar somewhere, sitting next to a stranger, and if you're both on Highlight, you can check them out. It's not just a dating site. It's a site about learning the insides of people, learning where they're from, who they are. Privacy, secrecy, mystery, then, is in jeopardy. Now, Hollywood already made a movie about this, a wonderful movie called The Truman Show. This is Mark Zuckerberg with glasses and a beret. I think Mark would look good with a beret.
Techniques and special effects. While the world he inhabits is, in some respects, counterfeit, there's nothing fake about
This was a movie about a guy who lived on a TV set whose entire life was broadcast.
It isn't always Shakespeare, but it's genuine. It's a life.
It's a life. It's true. It's all of our lives.
I'm not going to make it. You're going to have to go on without me.
We're all starring as ourselves on this network.
No
We're all
way,
Truman Burbank.
You're going to the top of this mountain, broken legs and all.
We find many viewers leave him on all night for comfort.
We leave each other on. We're all watching each other in this network age.
Well, for me, there is no difference between a private life and a public life. My life is my life.
My life is my life. No difference between a public and a private life. We're falling prey to what I call, not very originally, digital narcissism. We didn't invent this term, of course. The Greeks were the ones who invented it. But we're perfecting it. We've fallen, just as Jimmy Stewart fell in love with the blonde, we've fallen in love with ourselves. We think we're interesting. We're using this network to broadcast ourselves. I took this photo on the top of the Acropolis. I went up there thinking I was looking at antiquity, and all I found were people photographing each other. It's not funny. Should be crying. It won't go. Whoops. Visibility is a trap. Not my words, unfortunately, the great French philosopher Michel Foucault. But of course, we are all living in a movie made by Hitchcock. These theorists talk about the democratization of media. Maybe it's true. In the 20th century, Hitchcock made horror films, bang-bang movies, mysteries. Agatha Christie wrote these sorts of stories too, as an author, and we read them or watched them and then went home. But we're all participating in a noir now. We're all acting, like Jimmy Stewart, unknowingly in a noir. We go on Facebook, they take our data and sell it. We go on these networks, government takes our data and spies on us. Hitchcock, that old pervert, was obsessed with voyeurism and surveillance, but at least he kept it in the movie theater. Today, our world is defined, this digital world, this place, this network on which we live, it's dominated, defined by surveillance and voyeurism, by that data, by us as information, revealing ourselves, destroying our privacy. We have a gentleman in the front who's the best example, the best case for my argument. Susan Cain wrote a wonderful book called Quiet, in which she spoke of the importance of the introvert. In a networked age, in this cult of the social, where we're all expected to chatter and yammer and participate and tell the world what we're up to, there's no darkness, there's no mystery, there's no place we can hide to. Woz invented the personal computer. He didn't do it chatting to other people. He didn't do it sharing his information. He worked at HP during the day, and at night he holed up in a dark room and invented it, because he's a smart guy and he thought for himself. That's the danger of our world. We're not creating that darkness, that space, that mystery, that secrecy for the Wozes of the future, for the guys who think against orthodoxy, who think against the crowd. History is repeating itself. This is a picture of Jeremy Bentham. He invented the panopticon in the industrial age, a building designed to spy on people. Schools, prisons, hospitals, where everywhere we went, we would be watched. We need to learn from what happened in the industrial age. We need to go back, in particular, to Bentham's great critic, John Stuart Mill, whose book On Liberty is still the greatest defense of individual liberty and the importance of the autonomy of the individual. We need an on-digital liberty to keep that dark space, that autonomy, to push back the community, to make sure that the social doesn't take over every aspect of our lives. This is what could happen. This is the end of Vertigo. That horrible sound. Remember that horrible sound in the movie? Here it is. Listen to it. Oh my God. Did you hear it? That's a species crashing to Earth. That's what could happen to us if we're not careful. We're losing our inner world. We're losing what it means to be human. So what do? 2 or 3 very, very brief points. We need government. I got a friend at the EU, Vivian Redding, who's trying to legislate the right to forgetting. We need to teach the internet how to forget. We need to attack the business model of free, which undermines the internet, which means that companies from Facebook to every other company exploit our data because that's their only business model. We need new technologies that enable the degeneration of data. There's technology now coming out of the University of Eindhoven that's pioneering this. We need to learn how to forget. At the moment, the internet is not human. We may live on it, but it's a foreign network. Real independence, autonomy means forgetting, means carving out autonomy. Let me show you the end of the Truman story. The guy suddenly discovers we've been living on a reality TV set, so he's going to escape. It's a Hollywood ending, so he crashes into a full sky. Look at him. This is all of you when you decide to get off Facebook like I did. This has to be a Hollywood ending. It's not like Hitchcock. In Hitchcock, everyone falls down. In Hollywood, everyone rises up. Here we go. He's going to touch the wall. Look at him. And he's going to go up because he's going to touch reality. And that's what we all need to remind ourselves. Look, here he goes. He's going to walk up. It's a kind of liberation. And I think this is the liberation we need. Where's he going? How do we escape the dictatorship of the network? How do we escape the cult of the social? We're just about to find out. Even Zuckerberg here kind of realizes that his game's up. Look at him. He's made enough money anyway. He's got away. There he goes. And where's he going to go? He's going to go into that dark room that nobody knows, that room that was invented the personal computer, that room that writers and musicians and thinkers have always needed to escape the crowd. Let me end with one image from up the road in Amsterdam. Vermeer's Woman in Blue, the ultimate representation of the mystery and secrecy of the South. No coincidence it came out of 17th century Holland, with its focus on the individual.
And he was 6.
If you haven't seen this photo, if you haven't seen this picture, go and look at it and think about Zuckerberg. And if you're worried about where we're going, watch Vertigo and make sure that you never fall in love with blondes, especially if they wear green dresses. Thank you.
Bang, bang.